On this particular Mercedes, this is actually functional. You unscrew this. Be careful that not to overfill it when you fill it with coolant or distilled water. It has a little cork gasket on there, and if you look down inside, maybe I'll turn the light on here, you can see the antifreeze inside there. Again, if you overfill it, the worst that'll happen is it'll slightly boil over and you'll have to wipe it off the hood and grill. Something that we'll get to later on is the manual start method on this car. And while I've never used it, and I've heard people tell me it's with the electric starter it's more than ample, and you take a chance in breaking your arm if the engine should backfire or something, but this device, you unscrew it counterclockwise and you put it in a safe place, and then the long rod, which is located in the trunk, will go in through here and engage in the front of the harmonic balancer. Most people use it merely to set the engine timing, to rotate the engine and that. As I said earlier, the windshield wipers do not work. This is not original. Somebody down the road had installed a, or attempted to install a windshield washer system. We're going to open the driver's side. This is just a simple latch here. Be careful when opening it that you don't strike the back side of the headlamp, this area here. I did replace these. They're actually supposed to be screwed on and not riveted on, but these were replacement rubber pads that go on each end of the bottom of the side panel of the hood. This is the heat exchanger, or the heater core as it may be. This goes through a rod into the dashboard, which is to open and close this valve, which allows water to open and close at this valve right here. It allows the water to pass through the heat exchanger, etc. This is where the adjustment is for the emergency brake, and again the parking brake. Notice that it has a gravity feed fuel. The fuel is on the opposite side. There is no fuel pump on this engine. This is not, put a light on here again, this is not a clutch master cylinder. Instead, you'll notice a wire mesh in here, and there's a rag on the inside also which comes out. But basically that rag should not be in there. What this is, it's packed with grease. And that one switch that appeared to be like a dimmer switch that is located, look again now, it's located actually above and to the left of the clutch. What this device here is, this is a central lubrication system for the front suspension. And it's simply, you just have it packed with grease, and as you push on that rod inside the car, it goes back and forth. It's spring-loaded, and it's a pump. It goes down through this line, and it splits off into a manifold, and then it greases the front suspension of the car. The brake master cylinder reservoir is located here. The cap's a little tight. I can't get it off my hand. And behind that is the starter motor right there. The thermostat for the engine is here. I did replace the water pump several years ago, so that should not give you any problems. The sending unit, I believe, is perhaps faulty. Maybe it's something in the electrical system, but this car also has a fuel gauge in addition to the 3-position fuel valve. Now we're going on the passenger side of the car. Gives you a little bit better view of the thermostat, the distributor cap, spark plugs. This is an aluminum cylinder head. Now this is a flathead engine such that the valves are actually in the block, so they're upside down. And if you notice, this is your exhaust manifold on top, your intake manifold is down below, and your carburetor is below that. It's an updraft carburetor. And the air cleaner, which is very rudimentary, I just rock it back and forth. Sometimes you may have to drop a little bit of gasoline down in there to help prime the engine to get it started. I don't recommend it. Recommend rather using any starting fluid. This engine has only a 6.5 to 1 compression engine, and you take a chance on causing some damage. There's just a few shot glass fulls of gasoline down there as ample to get the car started if it gives you trouble. This is the gasoline tank. This is not original, but I added. It's a very simple inline fuel filter. And as you can see, when you the fuel then comes down through here and over to the carburetor here. Now the choke line is not hooked up, so when you go to start it, you're going to have to do this manually until you hook up the choke cable. And this is the choke cable right here. You'll see it's loose. It needs to be routed behind it and then back forward again. And I have the piece in a Ziploc bag that'll attach to the choke itself. Now I don't know if I can get the camera down in there that low or not, but I'm certainly going to give it a try. I'm always used to doing this by hand in the dark, by braille, so to speak. But the choke is on the carburetor. Oh, it's right here on the outside of the carburetor. You can see where my thumb is, and you can see where this little hole is on the side. That's where that piece that's in the Ziploc bag needs to be attached, and then the choke cable would simply attach like so. If I can get it visualized properly there. But usually, for now, to start the car, I pull the choke all the way back, which closes the choke. After it starts, then I'll move it forward, a little forward, a little forward. When you hear the engine starting to stumble a little bit, shut it forward, and it's a good idea to give this car about 10 minutes to warm up properly. This is where the oil filter screen is located, much the same as the old Volkswagen air-cooled Beetles used to have. And it does not have a replaceable filter. It's just a little wire screen. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to replace the motor mounts. They're looking a little old in that. As you can see, the transverse leaf spring front suspension. This is the valve to open the bottom of the radiator to drain the coolant. And I believe, yeah, here's another chassis identification tag down there, and another one over here on the engine. But we'll go ahead, we left the valve open for a few minutes and for the fuel, and we'll go ahead and try to start the car.